You're recording
Recording.
or on your phone as well.
No.
Good evening. This is the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board. I will open with the script for remotely conducted or hybrid meetings. This is a Zoom meeting allowing the public to participate. Attendees must register. The registration link can be found in the description of the Nantucket Government TV YouTube live feed for the meeting. Please join in listening mode and click the raise hand button if you wish to speak. The chair will call on those who have raised their hands in the order they were raised, and all questions should be directed through the chair. I am the chairman, Andrew Lowell. I will please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Peter Brace.
Aye.
Dave Bossy.
Present.
Scott Anderson.
Aye.
Dave Franzuto.
Here.
Ginger Andrews.
No, not
With us.
You there, Ginger?
I'm here, yes.
You want to do?
Staff.
Thanks for
can you
taking
hear?
me out of the waiting room.
No worries.
Staff present tonight, Dara Riley,
Here.
Sheila Lucy.
Here.
Good evening. This open meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. For this meeting, the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website. Unless otherwise noted, the public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Hold until your name is called. Remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged and speak through the chair. Any votes taken at this meeting tonight will be conducted by a roll call vote. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board, October 17th, 2023. Can we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Motion's made by Mr. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Bossy to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, Mr. Bossy,
Aye.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Andrews,
aye,
Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. Brace,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye as well. Marine Department report. Sheila Lucy, please.
Okay, so first I'm just gonna give you the end of year numbers that we had.
Wait. Sorry. Minutes.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Excuse me. Sorry, Sheila.
No worries.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of October 3rd? Any revisions to be suggested? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
so move, Mr. Chairman, this is Ginger.
Second.
Motion's made by Ginger Andrews, seconded by Peter Brace to approve the minutes of October 3rd. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Ms. Andrews,
Aye,
Mr. Bossy,
I'm going to abstain. I dropped that early.
Mr. Anderson,
I also have to abstain because I dropped out early.
and Mr. Franzuto
I have to abstain. I wasn't there.
is not present. The chair votes aye. Thank you. Marine Department report. Sheila Lucy, please.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the numbers of our totals. So as far as the dock staff, the dock crew, the waterways side of it, we did 764 mooring inspections. We did 165 hours in aids to navigation. We responded to 72 requests for assist. We hosted 1,607 transient vessels. We had 2,211 patrol hours. We performed 41 search and rescue cases in 8 oil pollution response. Most significant being the diesel spill at the end of the season. Most significant SAR case was, we had somebody that was missing up on Code 2 in black fog. We ended up launching boats along with the Coast Guard and ATVs. Fortunately, our ATVs located him. He was safe, just laying down in his sailboat, but that search effort was significant and really difficult to accomplish because the fog was so black. And along at the same time as that was going on was when the lady drove down into the boat ramp. So we had to decide, was there somebody in the car? And once we realized that there was nobody in the car, then we went back to searching for the missing person on the 16-foot sunfish. Also a significant incident for us this summer was the JessCon. That was the boat that had a lot of law enforcement activity on it. Our initial response when we got the call was for a wellness check. And so we took the fire department out for the wellness check and had the Coast Guard and NPD handle the law enforcement side of it. As far as our pump out program, we pumped 32,558 gallons. We also gave out 2,200 dye tabs. As far as lifeguards go, we guarded 465,775 people, performed a ton of first aid minors, and rescues in the RIP, 114 rescues in the RIP. Most significant case we had was right during Labor Day weekend when we just called the lifeguards off of Cisco Beach on Sunday. On Monday, we had a 25-year-old male unresponsive in the water, was rescued by civilians. And CPR was performed by a dispatcher and our lifeguards when they got there until EMS arrived on scene, but that worked out great. And that was a 14-year-old boy was the one that recognized the swimmer in distress. So that was quite an amazing thing. They were recognized, making sure that they were recognized at the Lifesaver Recognition Day at Egan. So that was pretty.
That person lived.
And he did, he survived, yep. As far as just notes go, the new extension that we added has proven to work out amazing. That's off of the fixed pier. That's gonna make all the difference in the world. We've seen it, we've had several nor'easters since then, and it's like a duck pond in there, and it's made a huge difference. Phase 2 of that project is still going on. It's in process right now. They're running the electrical down the dock. They're gonna be changing out the sewer pipe and doing all that. So that's in process right now. That's being completed by Robert Biauer. Coastal Marine is the one that got the bid to put in the new floating docks. They've started to sniff around because they're gonna be here in November. Luckily for us, they're gonna be disassembling the old wooden docks, and that's gonna be their problem, which is huge for us because that was a huge, but we used to spend a lot of time on that. Concrete docks, we don't have the concrete docks, but we have the steel piles. Concrete docks are being delivered to, supposedly the next month, to RBO, and RBO is supposed to barge them over. They got the contract to barge them over. But the piles are gonna start being pulled out, the new piles driven, but I don't think they can do that until the new concrete docks get here. I already mentioned the diesel spill that ended up being human error. The guy went to shut down his, he shut everything off because he was trying to reset his Wi-Fi. It was not the captain. It was a really rich owner guy that had zero business touching anything. However, he did. And he shut it down and then he turned everything on. And when he did, he turned on the transfer switch. and he tried to pump from the starboard tank into an already full port tank. It only lasted for a couple of minutes until everybody could smell it. He smelled it. And a couple of fishermen, the charter boat guys jumped on and shut everything down. It was estimated to be approximately 30 gallons after sounding the tank and looking at everything. DEP, Coast Guard, everybody said that we did everything absolutely right by the numbers. It was a huge effort. We had boom everywhere and cleanup took a long time. The guy paid the fine, paid for the cleanup crew, paid for everything to happen. He was completely upfront forward. It was just a big accident. There was no malice involved. I'm gonna be working with the with the Scallop Fleet next week, with the Coast Guard. We're gonna be doing some safety boardings, non-retribution safety boardings. We're gonna get the word out. I'm gonna work with, Natural Resources tomorrow to get the word out. We're gonna either have them all come to the town pier, we'll go to them, we'll do what we have to do just to make sure that they have their safety gear. Did it a few years ago and they liked it a lot. And, I think it'll be a really good thing. This new chief is really proactive that way, and him and I have known each other from the past, and we decided that that might be a good thing to do. We're gonna offer it 3 different times before the season starts. And they'll check their federal requirements, we'll check, the boat and the stays and all that stuff to make sure that everything looks good that way. Also think about including, Dave Wright from Environmental Police to see if he would like to join us with that. I have been included now, with the dredge plan people. They've started to include me on all of those emails, and so I'll be participating with them. I spoke with Jeff. Jeff said that they haven't really started talking about anything big yet, other than roots. So once they do, then we'll talk about what we think. We'll have some input in it. And the last thing, I'm gonna be coming to you guys. We do want to change a couple of the regulations. A couple of regulations that we're looking for, but I haven't written them up yet, so these are just ideas of things that we would like to see changed. Want to limit the number of permits issued to a single person to 2. There's some people out there already that have 5 and 6. And that's what's a lot of the holdup, and they will not give them up.
Mooring permit?
Yes, mooring permits. We want to talk about the number of permits for boat handlers, repair moorings, livery moorings, and commercial fishermen. We don't have that many commercial fishermen, so we're not really gonna put a limit on that because that obviously is important. The town, and we want to make sure that the town dinghy docks are for dinghies servicing either rental moorings or a permitted mooring only. Because it's just become way too crowded with people that are using it as a private slip. They started selling boats next door to us, just under 13 feet. So these people could have, could put it on the dinghy dock, but I think at this point, we don't have enough until we get petrol landing or until we get something else. We need to limit it to the people that are coming in and out from the anchorage, the rental moorings, and people that actually have moorings. Much like the permits that we have for the people at Cathcart. We'll put a dinghy permit on the back of it and it gets attached to a mooring. And we're coming up with ways to figure out how we're just gonna have to give Tim something and have the headhunter give stuff to the anchorage. For boats that are out there. For them to come in to have some type of a permit on.
Can I interrupt you?
Mhm.
And enforcement on that? I mean, people that already have those under 13-foot dinghies that are abusing it, you're just gonna,
They need to apply for a mooring permit.
okay,
Unless maybe I can talk with Dave and maybe he can kind of help me come up with something else, but
They gotta, well, just, I don't, I mean, we're gonna object, it has to be tied to something. And the mooring permits that really the only way to go. Oh, yeah, that's what they're gonna have to do, and they'll get a separate sticker from their mooring permit?
If it goes like,
Say I've got
say
it.
you got your 13-foot whaler and you have mooring 720.
Mhm.
I bought the stickers that you can write the number in Sharpie, and I'm gonna write 720 on the back of it, and so that number should match the mooring permit sticker number that's.
That's the only way you could be able to do it,
Exactly.
because just the information gathering alone. When the thing is sunk at the dock and you gotta have a phone number and a contact person and the name and all that. The only way to do that is with a mooring permit. You're right, you're exactly right.
Well, and exactly, because that's the other thing too, for safety reasons, because us and the Coast Guard sit there for hours trying to chase this around. Who does this belong to? Who is this guy? Then we don't have a mooring for, a number for them. We don't have any information. So it's gonna make it cleaner for search and rescue and safety. And also, the safety of that dock with the number of boats that have been on there recently is ridiculous, and people are falling in at night because they're jumping over too many boats. We have taken one of our transient slips, the number 1 transient slip, and we've built a small dock that is also being used for dinghies to try to relieve some of the pressure. Mike Allen did the same thing over at Tidal Creeks because he knew that a lot of his customers were part of the problem. And it did loosen it up this year. But Tidal Creeks is out of there and Ricky's back in there, and so. We'll have our dock in there, but I can't guarantee that there'll be a second one in there.
But
So
I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just not sure if I buy one of those boats
Mhm.
and put it in a children's beach, go over to Co2, have lunch, come back, and then just pull up to the dinghy dock and just tie up. How do you deal with that? So I don't have a mooring permit, so I just roll up there with my new boat.
But well, you won't have a sticker on the back of it, and then I'll be able to pick you out and we'll run the registration and
Okay.
we'll tow the thing out of there.
Okay,
Contact you and say you gotta
And-
find someplace else to go. But I'm also gonna tell Ricky if he's gonna continue to sell stuff that size, that those people need to put an application for a mooring permit.
The other thing too, but it sounds cumbersome, but I gotta tell you. And she'll probably has experienced this too, but the minute you take that thing off that dinghy dock, or the minute you take a boat off of the town pier, it's not supposed to be there, or off of mooring, it's not supposed to be there. The guy you've been chasing for 3 or 4 weeks miraculously shows up. Because the first words out of his mouth is gonna be,
Who stole
somebody
my boat?"
stole my boat. And you say, no, it's right over there on the town's mooring, and here's the plan. So it sounds cumbersome, but it's really not.
And it happens 3 times and then everybody gets the
Bang,
message.
bang, boom.
can you, I know I'm kind of hijacking your report, but, can you talk to Rick and, I don't know if he'd be required, or ask him to give him, whoever buys one, give him a mooring, give him a permit application at the time of sale. Like, here you go, you have to do this, go next door.
Yeah, we can try that. but I don't know how-
Let me ask you a question. Does Rick's or whoever, do they still have a float out there?
Yeah,
Okay, so Codillac has a permit for a float that sits out in front of Brad Point Marine. And
that he refuses to take
He
out the
should-
water.
it should be incumbent upon him, then he could have them tie up there. He could only have less than 5, because more than 5 becomes a marina. But he could help himself with this issue. But he has a permit for a float, he probably keeps a boat on it, but he wants to continue to sell boats, that may be a place to put a couple of these things. Just an idea.
Okay.
Since this is being discussed, quick question, Sheila, I'm sure you already have the answer to this. It's always been my understanding that a dinghy was around 7 to 10 feet. 10 to 12 or 13 feet is considered a skiff. Have you thought of decreasing the length to 12 feet from 13 to possibly eliminate some of these? I mean, I don't know how many people are using a dinghy that's 12 feet or better, and considering it a dinghy versus something a little different.
There are quite a few of them, especially the guys that have to go all the way out to Monomoy. And they don't want to or can't launch from the beach. So we do have several, the ones, you can always tell the ones that are being used as a boat, not a dinghy. And those are all those white inflatables that are down there that have the white outboards.
The other thing, in the state statute, and I'm pretty sure the bylaw and the regulations mirror it, there is those
There's a
definitions already in
definition.
there.
We have them in our bylaw.
Yeah.
So we would
So
just,
that's another tool
yeah,
in the toolbox. So
when we come back with the rewritten thing, something we can discuss.
So when are you, so these are gonna be regulations, so they can be adopted after a public hearing by the Board of Selectmen. So you don't have to wait for town meeting, is, I guess, my point,
Okay,
right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that right?
yes,
So you're gonna do it under a regulation, so just so the board knows, that can be done at any time.
Mhm.
So you don't have to scurry around, try to get something for April, we can work on it, help her. And then it can get voted anytime.
what we're gonna try to do is have them written for you very soon, and then you guys can work on it over the winter, or we can work on it over the winter, and then hopefully we can put it in play.
Kind of like what we did with the liverboard stuff.
Exactly,
Okay.
And put it in play for next year.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
A couple of the other ones we were gonna add was, right now it says, I don't think we have a length restriction on the boats in the anchorage. And unless we're gonna change the anchorage to include first bend or something like that, or expand it a little bit, we need to shrink the size of boats that go up there. The mooring, Nantucket moorings won't take anything over 80 feet because of his insurance. So I would want the anchorage to mirror that and say anything that's over 80 feet must anchor outside in the court of the bay. Which only one I see, Dave, that's gonna throw a stroke over is Snow Goose. But it is what it is. Unless, you know, we can expand the anchorage, which I don't think anybody's gonna wanna do. My only positive about it is they won't be dragging across Hussey Shoal and they won't be anchoring right in Hussey Shoal if we gave them first bend. First bend is really safe, but I don't know how good it is for scallops. That's not my place to decide that. It's just my place to ask for it. So that being said, that's where we are. So we're just saying no vessel permitted to use the anchorage for more than 48 hours, which is already in the regulations. We want to keep that, but we can give them permission to be there for 7 days. Well, as per usual, anytime we let it go much longer than that, like right now, we have 2 boats that we're chasing that have been abandoned, and the taxpayers are gonna have to pay to just get rid of, because you know, I've already changed the pennant line 462 times, and it just keeps chafing, and it's a problem. Okay, another loophole that everybody's doing to us now is people that are moving off island, where we should be getting these mooring permits back, are now putting their friend's name on the registration. So that they can keep that mooring, even though that guy has moved off island, the primary guy has moved off island. So my thing is, if the original permit holder no longer resides on Nantucket, the permit must be forfeited back to the town, which is
Well,
what.
right, you have to, right, I just had this discussion with 2 other towns on Friday. You have to be a resident.
Yeah.
And the only way you could transfer a mooring is to a family member, and that's clearly called out in the statute and the bylaw.
Mhm.
So even, you
Yep.
know, the guy who buys the house, it doesn't work unless it's a deeded waterfront property mooring, which has a whole nother set of rules to it. Can't do it, just can't do it. But I
And
can
even
see-
that, we need to clean up a little bit, because the people that sold the house don't take their moorings. They
Yep.
think that they can keep them there, and if they get an agreement from the guy that they sold to, they say, I have access, all that other stuff. So those are just things that we wanna just clean up, because those are the fights that we have every single day with the realtors, even though we go and speak to the realtors at the beginning of the season.
If they can find a loophole, they will, I guess.
Mhm.
Wait, I sell my house to Dave
Yeah,
and there's a deeded mooring outside.
well, that doesn't, it doesn't necessarily mean you get a deeded mooring.
Okay, so I sell my house to Dave.
It has to
Uh,
be,
It has a mooring that comes with it.
No,
no,
no, doesn't
no.
come with it, you have to apply.
only if, right, only if it's says in the deed that they have deeded waterfront access.
Okay,
But there's no guarantee then, because if there's no room or the depth of
Oh,
water
that's-
is changed or something
well,
like that.
let's say your arm is,
Oh, that's-
I sell it to Dave, there's a mooring that goes with the house. What you're saying is that the person who has sold it then tries to get rights to use the mooring even though they don't own the house anymore. Is that what you're saying?
That's what
So
happens
part of the real estate deal.
on the regular, yeah.
And the realtors
So
are,
they, so they're writing that into the contract,
Yep.
that Dave can come across your property
Yep.
any single time he wants to get to his mooring. Then the new guy says, I have deed of waterfront access, I
I
want
want-
4 moorings.
Right.
No, they want 4, because they have a dinghy, they have a sunfish, they have this, they have that. So that's what we're dealing with. So what we've been saying right off the bat is, we'll decide, yep, your deeded waterfront access makes you not have to sit on the wait list, but we still will go take a look at the area, see if there's room there, see what the story is there. You're not guaranteed a mooring, no matter whether it's right outside your door or not.
Just a 5-second anecdotal story, the boat that she was talking about, Snow Goose, a minute ago, is a 120-foot sailboat. Guy who owns it's named Ray Alfieri. He owns waterfront property in Monomoy. He keeps his dinghy on his mooring in front of his house in Monomoy. He came when we developed that program, he came, walked through the door and said, I'm here for my mooring for Snow Goose. And we said, Snow Goose won't fit in Monomoy because it draws about 7 feet and you only got about 3 feet of water there. But that's the kind of loophole that these people, types of things that these people try to do. And as far as the realtors are concerned, they're ruthless. They'll do anything to sell the house but normally, I give them some credit. Normally they call and say, okay, we're selling the house. Can they get the mooring? And then Sheila goes through the process of applying for the permit, looking to see if it fits. Again, the new guy's got a 50-footer that would fit where that 21-foot makeup did. So, that's why it has to go through the process.
through you, Mr. Chairman, Sheila, can you, when you go and look at the area where they're requesting the mooring, can, do you figure in habitat, like, might you bring Tara or her, or the assistant biologist along to look at and see if you even want to put a boat there, or you want to put 2 boats there? And
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
I mean, I know, I'm speaking for Tara, but I'm just saying, if we're trying to protect habitat and you're trying to, you're trying to do your job and close loopholes, it would give you an edge to say, well, there's an awful lot of eelgrass there and you're looking to put this boat here and you're gonna have XYZ tackle and the tackle is gonna drag on the bottom but over here, here's the spot that'll work for you, but there won't be any more, you know what I'm saying? It'd be another.
Or to that point, Peter, that's when she says you can only use a door moor with a
Yeah,
eco-friendly road and pennant line. And, that can be a requirement. or
And that
could
being
be
said,
made-
we test better one of those this year,
I'm sorry?
that we test better one of those this year with, land council.
Yeah, but see, there's a perfect way to get what we want
work
environmentally
it in,
in, right,
because they
exactly,
want the mooring, so.
exactly.
So maybe it could be, I know we're gonna talk about this winter, but maybe it could be. It would also be subject to the approval of the town biologist or
Or to her recommendation.
to her recommendation,
Exactly.
not to give her more work, but
Can I ask, you said 2 per person, what does that mean?
2 mooring permits per person.
Then, okay, so,
So you don't have 5.
okay, but I have 2 and my son has 2?
No, for a family, it's 4. You know what I mean?
So it's 2 per person, 4 for family.
Yeah,
Okay, that's why, because when we're talking about that we need to know that.
yeah,
4
that's our recommendation. I mean, you guys can do what you want, but
4 per family.
4 per family,
I
I
see.
think is more than enough.
Okay, yeah, most definitely.
habitat
Especially if I'm sitting on the waiting list at number 17.
contingent on the existence of Maybe it's a no habitat.
Well, we'll
No.
take a look. Well,
An
yeah,
environmental review.
we'll talk about that.
Okay,
Tara's raising her hand.
Tara's got it done.
Tara, please.
That was a long time not to be able to talk. I just have a few questions for clarification for Sheila. For the pump out numbers that you gave, does that
Can you-
include the boat basin or is that?
What the cops calling?
Oh,
It's not including the boat basin. I
Okay,
haven't done that yet. That's not, we haven't got to the end of the year yet. And she's still pumping.
okay. I have one more comment that I can make without Sheila, but when it comes to putting moorings in First Bend, my concern wouldn't be that they were environmentally friendly. My concern would be now that we have the problem with the FDA and moorings, any type of mooring, whether it's occupied or not, in the vicinity of shellfish beds with that closure that we have now in the horse shed and on Holbert Ave, it's because of those rental moorings.
Not the moorings, it's anchorage.
it's anchorage, right? Yeah, that's the difference. It's anchorage, not moorings. It would extend the anchorage up to the east,
Not for
not
moorings.
for moorings.
Okay, well, I think that the FDA would probably still have a problem with that, but it's something that we'll have to look at and discuss.
It would also extend the no wake zone up to the east too, which voters would have a problem with probably. So there's a lot to consider. So but it's a good wintertime conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some really seriously deep water around First Point. That may, that could be restricted into that 20-foot water. Which doesn't have any eelgrass and wouldn't have any impact, but you can only fit, if you're dealing with, even if you're dealing with 4 79-foot boats, you're gonna run out of room pretty quick. It's not gonna help with the problem.
No, yeah, swing on those, yeah.
Personally, I feel seeing the larger boats outside the jetties in the core of the bay looks like it's been successful.
There's a lot out there.
And
And it works.
yeah, I mean, Sheila did have a concern when this was suggested a couple of years ago that where do they go if
And
we
the
get
other
a
thing
storm,
too is
high winds or
if-
hurricane?
If you've got an
Sheila was
80,
talking about the core of the bay being the alternative.
if you've got an 80+ thing, you're certainly gonna have a tender that can make it into
Right.
town to go to dinner. I mean,
Right.
it's not like there's a safety issue or anything like that.
yeah, you're not gonna be rolling a
They
skiff.
need to go, they need to go out there. Some of them have tenders that are 40, 50 feet long
Mhm.
and a helicopter.
All right, well, this is all certainly very interesting material, Sheila. Closing loopholes. You can certainly expect support from us. The loopholes are only making your job more difficult. And people taking advantage of going beyond what the purpose was intended. This having a 13-foot boat that's not a dinghy, but being at the dinghy tie-up it needs to be addressed.
You're
So,
gonna go.
Yeah, but not,
You jammed up with them.
not,
well, Tara, did you want to complete your question for
Oh yeah, I had
Sheila?
one more question. Sheila, when you were talking about limiting the moorings to 4 per family, does that include, like, how do commercial fishermen and people with aquaculture permits fall into the category of permit numbers?
the aquaculture, the commercial people are separate. Those commercial moorings are separate from their regular moorings, so they will not be affected or held to 4.
Okay, thank you.
Sheila, you mentioned 150 some odd hours of aid to navigation.
Yeah, that's trying to find the water, setting the aids, getting the aids in, verifying them after storms, all that different type of
Okay,
stuff.
okay, all
It
right.
took us forever to find the Eel Point channel. Took us a long time to find Pulpus again, because that's filling right back in, and,
I
Yeah.
misunderstood that as you aiding.
no,
General people in the
Ace Navigation, that's the couple weeks, Ace
Okay,
Navigation,
okay.
so. when we do an east navigation patrol, I'm counting the number of hours it takes us to find the channel, mark it. You know, and then report it and then verify it after every storm. Every time we have a blow over 30, we're required to go out and verify that they're on station so that if there's an accident, we can say that it was not due to our AIDS navigation being off station.
Okay,
Buoys are a huge liability to the town, and so we have to be really careful.
well, I have to say, they're
many
set very well. The night of the 4th of July was quite dark, and I had the opportunity to be in a boat that had to follow each marker to the head of the harbor, and they're well, you know, the reflection on them is
Thank you.
wonderful, and the placement was perfect. The particular person ended up running aground at a later time on Second Point, but that was a separate matter, but
How many aids you set?
102.
wow. Okay. And gosh, you only mentioned like 156 hours, something like that. That's okay.
Can I ask Sheila a question?
Please do, Peter.
I guess this is historical, and so it's, you were scenic tree, but as we all know, at Grand Point Station. And I'm just wondering, this summer I paddled in the harbor for the first time in a while. And I was just astounded at how many boats are used in the harbor compared to like the last time I went. And it used to be like in the early 2000s when I was kayaking over to Code 2 that I could pick any point to set up and pretty much no one would come over. And now I paddled out of Pulpus Harbor and went past Bachmo Point and over to Fourth Point. And there were no less than 16 boats starting at the point and then spreading out. And then all the bends were full of boats. All the points had boats on them. And then there were 7, 8 boats down there by Cascada. And then there's people going this way and all. I was just like, has it been like that for a while, or is it?
The pandemic really increased the number of boats. It was that was a perfect social distancing activity.
Okay,
So I think that made a huge difference, but yeah, I have noticed a huge increase in boating traffic too, but like kind of numb to it a little bit because it got to deal with what we got to deal with.
and I saw what Andy had seen, people with the big,
Picnic boats.
the big picnic boats, the big, Hinkley boats, towing people in tubes. Like
Yeah,
at speed.
Hinkley population is ginormous out here. The
And
whole white elephant is nothing but Hinkley's.
like you need a much bigger bay to appreciate that boat. It's the harbor's too small for those things, it seems.
Yeah,
And then you
and because they don't draw any water, that's part of the problem. They go anywhere.
Really?
Yeah,
They're all
They're all
jet,
jet drives.
they're all jet.
you get all the kite surfers when it's windy.
Mhm.
Get those guys on the hydrofoil things zipping all over the place. Good thing we don't have jet skis, but holy crap, I could not believe
Thank God.
how many boats there were. It was just like, and so trying to get around Pockmo Point with the tide coming in, but the wind coming the other way and all those boats and all those waves. Anyway.
Well, Peter, I think we can directly relate it to development.
Yeah.
75 or more new houses per year. How many of those are purchasing boats as well?
But then there are boating clubs where you pay an amount.
Well, that's what the Hinkley's, a lot of the Hinkley's are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Hinkley's are that Barton and Gray.
Martin and Gray, yeah.
Okay.
Sheila, the 2,200 die tabs
Mhm.
passed out. That is wonderful. The Scalloper safety check, great idea. So thank you for that. Board members, any more questions, comments for Sheila?
Oh, I have, oh, sorry.
Right before you, Dave, so it was the land council that paid for 8,000 dye tablets,
They paid for a lot of them, yeah.
right? So when you run out, you go back to them and they'll pay,
Yep,
keep paying,
yep,
good.
they like it.
How's your budget doing? Shot in the butt, or you doing okay with money?
We'll talk about that
Okay.
offline.
Okay.
Um,
Just wondered. You were
Yeah.
holding your own, or?
yeah, We're-
Shortfall.
well, left in the dark a little bit there, so, but, yeah.
Okay.
Or anything you can tell us about, the building.
Oh, the new building, the biggest thing is I just need you guys to help us keep it on that side of the street. Cause running across the street would be absolutely unacceptable and impossible for us to complete our mission and do our job. We have too many things go down, we wouldn't see boats sinking, we wouldn't see boats in trouble, we wouldn't see people falling, we wouldn't see. We need to be on that side of the street. Also, Washington Street is a parking lot, as you know, when it's raining, and if the building was across the street with the bathrooms, you guys would just be sitting there forever, and it's supposed to be a thoroughfare to the thing. So I know the new building considered like all the coastal resiliency stuff, and it was architect so that it was gonna like have something so that water can pass through underneath.
It sounds cliche, but I can't tell you the number of rescues and requests or observed needs for assistance. You just happen to see because you're right there on the second floor, looking at whatever's going on. And it's amazing. It's really, and I know it sounds dramatic, but it's true. There've been lives saved just because somebody happened to be looking out the window on the proper side of the road. So I mean, I would be more than happy to argue that with anybody.
Thank you.
So, in addition to your keeping the office on the right side of the street and helping you support you with those regulation changes, is there anything else you need from us? Any other way we can help you?
There probably will be, like maybe after the first of the new year, I might be coming to you guys with some ideas. But right now, I just appreciate this, appreciate your time, getting to fill you in on what we did all summer. And appreciate you understanding that it's me and two other guys, so there's a lot of times that I can't make these meetings, so if we get a bigger staff, then we might be able to attend a few more meetings, but right now it's me and two guys doing all of this maintenance, pulling these buoys, doing all that stuff, so.
Sheila, we appreciate your presence tonight, and you've brought us in a wealth of information, so thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Any more
Thanks, yeah.
questions or comments from the board?
Tara, I'll call you tomorrow, okay?
Sounds good.
Right.
Any questions
Thanks
from the
for-
public?
Thanks for the,
Thanks, good to see you.
yeah. good
Thank you,
response.
Sheila.
All right, thank you, guys.
Natural Resources Report. Tara, good evening.
Good evening. I have a short one tonight. Since we last met, we've been busy moving seed with our town scallop boat. So we go out every day. We have divided the harbor up and triaged the areas of high density seed. So right now, the town is working on an area up near Wellwinnet. There's a pink house up there that runs all the way up past Toppers. That site has around 250 scallops per meter squared. So we've been making a pretty good dent in that. We've been able to haul about 30, I think we're around 30, 35 bushels on the scallop boat that we're moving a day. So that equates to around 100 to 120,000 seed that we're putting back in deeper water just on our own. And we have met with Samantha Dennett from NSA and had some preliminary meetings about engaging the scallop fleet in the moving activity. Once scallop season starts, and she's basically, talking to everybody to see what the best plan would be moving forward. But we have kind of designated some areas that would be ideal for the scallop fleet to move in the quays area, because usually they start kind of fishing off of Abrams anyways. So that would be a convenient spot for them to just kind of tow through at the end of their day, or have a designated seed moving, event or something like that, depending on whatever they come up with. to move stuff into deeper area, and we're using all of our survey results to reseed areas that were either low density for scallop seed or had an absence of scallop seed, which is mostly like in the lower harbor for Nantucket Harbor. And we are planning on moving as much as possible also to Mattocket. So we had, there's an area surrounding Bass Shoal that has over 500 scallops in a square meter. It's insane. It's just piled and it's vast. It's not just like a small concentrated area. So that stuff is, although it's thick, it's relatively safe right now from the wind. So that's going to be worked on last and probably, you know, moved after this other stuff close to shore moves. But we also started having the conversations about the seed stranding situation that's inevitable, that will most likely occur, and what type of response is going to be expected for each one, because it's going to be exhausting, because there's just so much seed everywhere in the harbor, and you know, behind the vulnerable stuff is just as much seed, just as thick, you know, that will move forward. So I think right now the plan is to be as proactive as possible, move as much as we can. From a natural resource standpoint, we're moving it to create new areas for spawning and reproduction for the following season. We also want to thin stuff out so that it will grow better and be healthier and not be susceptible to disease and death at these high densities, because if we are to leave it, as soon as we have a low oxygen event, that stuff's going to die in the summer, just as thick as it is. So that's kind of our priority. I am sure NSA will have some other priorities about moving stuff to deeper water for better meat yields and that sort of thing. But that's just kind of what we're looking at. And, you know, we're probably going to have to launch some PR about the strandings and why we are not going to be able to save every scallop. But, you know, just to let everybody know that the effort is there to move as much as possible while we can. So if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to ask. But that's all I have for the hatchery end of things.
Scott, please.
I'm not sure this is a question Tara can answer, but a lot of people dive, snorkel, scuba dive appears for scallop. How did they identify with a button permit when they're out there? Because I've seen a lot of them without, what I can see is a button that I wear.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do wear the buttons. They get all rusty and everything because obviously you're underwater with your button, but it's pinned to their suit. I've seen them pinned to dive flags. But yeah, usually they have something close by and not on shore that they can show us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Board members, questions for Tara, comments?
I just got one other quick. Did you get my email?
I did.
Do you have that?
I do. Did you get my response?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I said I do have it. It's the one from
All right,
Clyde
so
McKenzie.
all right, so it's on my ball is in my court. So I'm gonna pass those, since you have that on, it's a great 2-book thing written by a guy named Clyde McKenzie, right?
Mhm.
And it's the history of bay scalloping, like back to the 1800s. And it's a tremendous read. I want to make sure she had it, but if she has one, I'm gonna start passing it around to you guys. It's unbelievable stuff. Tremendous photographs and tremendous science. A science from Belding, which is being used, you know, today. So really a good read. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get your reply.
It's all right.
I had a question.
Peter, please.
My question is, what's the status of that huge catch of scallops in Mattocket that you guys are moving from in the springtime? Have you know, is there still a lot there?
That was not this most recent spring, Peter. That was the year before that we were
Year
moving
before.
seed.
Okay,
So that stuff should be pretty much done, as far as the end of life. So, right now we have been out in Mattakit. We don't currently have the same dive survey oversight that we do in Nantucket Harbor, but we had great recruitment in all of our spat lines, more than we've ever had, but we still have yet to locate a decent seed population in Mattakit Harbor. So, I think we're kind of waiting for the commercial guys to get out there and to give us some information, but we also did some releases in different areas in the back part of the harbor towards Tuckernuck. So it could be that we also need to expand our search a little bit north to kind of see what's going on there. But in any case, Mattakit's a great candidate to move a lot of seed to.
thank you.
Tara, do you have an estimate of how many commercial boats we'll see at the beginning of the season?
I do not.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, though. And it's, I'd just like to state that seeing Natural Resources have their boat rigged and taking action in the seed moving is just tremendous to see. And congratulations in getting that deployed. So thank you. Seems like it couldn't have been a better time. Having so
It's a
much
good
seed
time
out
for us
there.
to get to know the boat.
Yeah, and as far as the NSA goes, working with them and their generosity in paying commercial fishermen to help move the seed. Thank you also for staying obviously in great communication with that group. Board members, anything else? Questions, comments? Thank you, Tara. Anything from the public? Do we have any public with us tonight?
Kona,
Not seeing or hearing anything. We'll move forward to old business. Harbor watershed, public information, outreach and ideas. Obviously, this is a follow-up from our forum. Spoke about this at the last couple of meetings, listing alternatives to green lawns. So that the public has a direction to go in, rain gardens versus dry wells. Creating a presentation for classrooms in school. Having little one-liners that we can possibly, work with the NSA on getting out there for more exposure. If your lawn is exceedingly green, then chances are you're part of the problem. If you see something, say something. I like David Gray's idea of mandating stormwater control on job sites where it could be an issue. So basically, what we need to do is come up with a presentation at some point that we can bring to a classroom in school.
Mr. Chairman, oh, go ahead.
We have the PowerPoint, so all we have to do is build a little bit of that,
Yeah.
maybe modify or dummy it down in certain areas.
Mhm.
I'm involved in teaching the new Harbor Masters Academy. And so I've been doing a lot of PowerPoint stuff, and to your point, I took those and I started building about a 20-slide PowerPoint presentation that would go into like a middle school or even a high school, with pretty much what you just said about the green lawns and the fertilizer and the whole issue. So I'm gonna keep working on that, and in the next couple of weeks, I'll get it out to you guys so you can take a look at it.
Great.
And just, it's got the PowerPoint thing with the place to take the notes on the side. It's got the slide and then the thing. So what I would suggest, if you guys would, if I'm gonna send you that, and then in the comment section, make all your notes and we'll add or subtract whatever you think is important. But it's just because I'm working with that stuff, it just came to mind and I started doing it, so.
Multitasking, good.
Well, yeah, well, three over 270 hours for the Harbor Masters Academy, so I'm going a little bleary.
Mm.
So we talked about at the last meeting, having a workshop on that.
I read that in the minutes and I think that's kind of what got me
Yeah.
thinking a little bit about.
So we were thinking of pushing that into like January because of what we have coming up. And we've got now Sheila's regulations that we'll be working on and in November, if we stay to the schedule, then we'll be starting to review the aquaculture regulations with Tara. And it just dawned on me while I was doing the minutes yesterday that our next meeting is November 7th, and that's the special town meeting. So we may not be able to have another meeting unless we decide that we have it on I think the 31st. I think the 31st is a Tuesday. So we could look into that or could ask Erica if the room is available. And if we wanted to, instead of waiting 3 weeks, we have our normal 2 weeks.
I actually think that's a Thursday.
It's
the 31st.
Well, whatever the Tuesday is the 29th.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
It would be the 31st.
No,
2 weeks from today is October
Oh.
31st.
I think back in November.
so just so that we all have that in our heads, it's a lot of stuff we have coming up.
And I gotta plug the harbor plan.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping you guys I saw what you wrote up and everybody, please give input. Please be interviewed if you feel compelled to be.
Yeah, at the meeting yesterday, we learned that we got over 500
Yeah,
responses to the survey.
570 some.
Yeah, like more than any other.
It was
Hmm.
unreal.
So, and then they broke it down to, what the responses were for what topics. So people are thinking about it. It's not a topic that's gonna go away, that's for sure.
No.
Okay, well, you just brought up a great point, Peter, November 7th being the special town meeting, we really can't hold our meeting at that time.
Right.
So we need to make the decision tonight, we'll do that before the meeting is over to, have our next meeting in 2 weeks versus 3 weeks.
Well, we can make that decision, I'll still have to get a hold of Erica, just to see if we can get it, but I think. In terms of end of month. I don't know who has meetings end of month. Not a lot of people, right?
Well,
But aren't
this is,
we? No,
it's typical, this is, the 5th Tuesday of the month, and that doesn't happen very often,
Right. we should play a lottery then, find some numbers,
It's also Halloween, if that matters. I know it would matter for me.
It does,
yes.
'cause you're gonna have to we'll all have to be in costume then, because you'll be in costume.
At 5 o'clock.
Well, you'll be downtown you can FaceTime.
Okay.
Clara, you'll certainly be excused to attend Halloween with your children if we meet on the 31st.
Thank you.
So, that's fully understandable, and it's not, our normal meeting Tuesday, so, but, if we feel the need, we need to meet, whereas November 7th, is really, spoken for with, special town meeting. So, we can't expect anybody to attend this meeting with special town meeting happening at the same time, so. When does special town meeting start, though, 6? I mean, 5, okay, so same time as us,
That's when the shouting begins.
yeah. Okay. Anything else on Harbor Watershed, public information, outreach and ideas? Green crabs, anything new? we have any type of, idea of how the trapping went through the summer?
We need to get, you know,
Interestingly enough, one of the questions on the, or one of the comments, apparently that was quite popular was trapping of green crabs in the survey from the harbor plan. It was really a very, very popular topic,
Mhm.
which I thought was great.
Well, hopefully, some, inspiration comes of, what has taken place this summer. If it's felt it's, and agreed upon that it needs to be expanded upon, hopefully there's opportunity for it to be expanded upon. So, we'll just, follow this topic and, whatever you can possibly find out, Mr. Anderson, share at our next meeting. That's wonderful. Did you mention at the last meeting you were gonna reach out to the land council?
I
and
didn't
see
mention I
what-
was gonna do that. I am gonna go out to Toscana to have a chat with them
Uh-huh.
and see how how much product they receive.
Hmm. Okay, cause that,
But I can reach out to
the
the
10
land council.
traps that were set was implemented by the land council. Is that right, Tara?
Yes, it was the land council.
Yeah,
I'll reach out to them.
okay. Any more discussion on green crabs? The Harbor Action Plan Committee, SHAB recommendations. I'm sorry, Mr. Franzuto.
No,
Okay.
as Peter said, they had a great response to the interviews. There was we've received some written submittals. There was an attempt by the Mattocket Conservation folks and several groups to redefine the planning area, which they were trying to incorporate the watershed lines and harbor protection lines and stuff that lines that we have used for our efforts. They were trying to expand the planning area, and much discussion, and basically it failed. And the planning area is remaining the same. The gist of it is there's an awful lot of folks, us included, that are looking at all these other issues inside the watershed. And they all don't dovetail into management of the harbor actions and plans. So that effort failed. Please, if you want to be interviewed, just send me an email or read some of the emails, and I can get you the addresses for Kim Starbuck to be interviewed. We gave her some additional names yesterday. Yeah, it's going quite well. I think we're gonna go over the matrix. Tara and Jeff had gone through the matrix of what had been accomplished. I had gone through it and made lots of notations. The committee's gonna take one more look at that and kind of use it as bullet points to make sure that we're covering a lot of the not to forget to cover some of the other items. So and I think Urban Arbors, I believe, Peter, you were there. They said that the next meeting or the following meeting, they're going to start bringing us written documents to start reviewing and certain of the subsections. So I'll be sharing that with you as we move forward. But I think it's going well.
I'd have to agree. I believe, I had an interview with Kim Starbuck and they keep it interesting. They stay focused. It's really seems like this plan could come out with a lot of positive results. So I'm excited about it, as I'm sure everybody involved is as well.
Under stuff for the next meeting, I'll tell you some of the other ideas that we're gonna be I'm gonna be submitting, but anyway, to do that for consideration, our agenda for our next meeting.
And I'd just like to say with what I sent out to the board today, I realize it's a little late, so I'm not expecting any feedback as of yet, but I'd like to invite you all to add to, delete, revise. It's a draft. And you're all welcome to make any suggestions for changes or revisions to it. And hopefully when it's complete, we can all agree upon
Well, it also goes
Shipping it
into your
out.
next agenda item. I mean, you captured a
Yes.
lot of the next agenda item, and just so you know. At yesterday's meeting, the sediment transport and dredging and the dredge plan and all that. Came back up again, so it's on the front burner,
Mhm.
so.
Well, and as I would imagine with, making a plan for the harbors, that's supposed to last for how many years? The last one was 09.
Right.
So,
Well, to that point, what Jeff pointed out, and we don't want to get in the same box that we got in this time where the plan expired after 10 years, and then it took them a couple of years to get funding and be reminded that the plan had expired and that it does have regulatory teeth and it's important. Jeff has already in his 7 to 10 year budgeted for the next update. And we also said that due to coastal resiliency and the dynamics of what all is going on in the harbor and, the number of boats, et cetera, and all the issues that will come to bear and that will just keep growing. Our recommendation yesterday was we'll probably do a revision after 4 years or an update after 4 years. When we talked to coastal zone management, and that won't require a whole going out to bid and a whole process. We'll just take the implementation group, do a revision, submit the revision, the state will approve it, hopefully, and we'll move forward. So you won't be trying to do 10 years worth of catch up every time. And it's gonna be budgeted, so we won't have to play that tune. So a little bit more proactive on moving forward. If you had told me in 2000 and whatever, started the process that all of this stuff was gonna happen, maybe we would have been a little bit ahead of the curve back then, but we just never saw a lot of this stuff happening. But anyway, that's sediment
Dave,
dredge trend.
Dave, if there are elements, this 10-year plan that aren't completed after 10 years, and the next plan is either in the works or hasn't begun to be in the works yet, can an extension of the 10-year plan?
Well, they got an extension this time, because you don't want the regulatory authority to expire, but I think there are not gonna be 135 action items this time. The action items are gonna be, I don't wanna say greatly, but they're gonna be reduced. And they're gonna have the same level of columns of responsibility of who's supposed to get this done. And the implementation committee will be required to get updates from those people on how we're moving forward. But again, with 75 or 77% of the 135 action items were completed. But this time you're not gonna have 135, so it's gonna be a heck of a lot easier to manage. I can't tell you how many action items, 30, 40, I don't know, but it's gonna be a heck of a lot easier to manage.
Some of the action items may be a lot larger in this one though than,
I don't know.
previous.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and a lot of the action items were that didn't get completed. You know, we found that they ended up being covered by other programs and other people, and we didn't know that, and, you know, so I mean, I think this will be a lot more manageable. And I would hope, you know, members of this board would be open to being on the implementation group.
Board members, anything else to add to this topic? Harbor Action Plan Committee recommendations? Sediment Transport Study and Dredge Plan. So Sheila, was actually, the last I spoke with her 2 weeks ago, was not exactly familiar with this action being taken on the sediment transport and dredge plan. She reached out immediately, and as she mentioned tonight, she will be a part of that discussion. Primarily, I imagine, in navigation, which of course is important, but in our eyes, there are, you know, 3 other aspects to it that I think, I believe, will be helpful in the long run. So I guess I need to do the same thing Sheila did, and I just want to stay in the loop, I guess, so to speak. And at this point, I don't feel like that's the case. So
Carlson can give you.
Actually,
Yeah.
Andy, there's nothing really to be in the loop about.
Well,
And so,
simply just the timing.
right, I spoke with
Yeah.
Vince Murphy,
Yes.
and Vince, I said, can you come and talk to us about
Yeah.
what's going on? He's like, when they get some data compiled, that then he'll have something to say.
Okay, so they're collecting data.
It's
All right.
nothing, it's not like we're missing out on anything right now.
Okay. And I remember you saying that, you know, when the time's right, you'd have Vince join us.
He's
Tara?
more than willing to come.
I'm also in on the Zoom meetings for the sediment transport, and they have just sent out a partial mapping of the eelgrass habitat area, and they are not finished yet. So they are still collecting data for review before any type of plan is moved forward or any decisions are made. So there's still time, plenty of time.
Thank you, Tara. That's, you know, music to my ears, I guess. So, you know, we've obviously had this on our agenda for many months, and just knowing that, you know, where the organization is at in their studying or you know, creating mapping is good to know. So thank you for that. Any other discussion, comments on sediment transport study and dredge plan? The next is dumpster sticker distribution. Of course, the NSA would love to have some photos, ops of some stickers being applied. I haven't done anything yet, but Dave, if you're in town, if there's something we can do, at least Miles Reese mentioned that he has a stack of brand new dumpsters at his old
There's all
barn on
side room.
yes, and he said we can walk right in the door and start
I'll be
applying.
here till next Thursday.
All right, good. I always feel like a little weights off my shoulders after our meeting. So for 2 weeks at least. So I'll get in touch with you.
Okay.
Great.
So on that topic, last Thursday was the Nantucket Biodiversity Initiatives, third quarterly meeting of the year. And I'm a partnering member of that with my business. And there I met a woman named Cameron Wood, and she's the new environmental, I guess it's environmental coordinator at the airport, because Noah Carberg got moved up to manager of the airport. And so at the end of the meetings, we all, under other business, you know, is there anything anybody wants to add? And so I mentioned the stickers. And she said to get in touch with her and she'd be happy to put the stickers on whatever dumpsters they have out there.
Oh, good, great.
Because we might have trouble walking on the airport property and flying.
No, but that's great, because they have maintenance people that pour
Yeah.
paint in the dump. Sure, well, that's great.
Yeah, so I can reach out to her and find out how many dumpsters there are and then get the number of stickers and then get them to her.
Great, awesome. And I still have your box of blue books.
Okay.
They're in safekeeping.
And I have a half a box.
Okay.
I don't have any. I want to put one in my truck.
Can't get rid of them fast enough. I had 6 cases at my house.
If you want to stack.
Of the
To keep in
stickers
your
or the
truck.
green?
Now, these are the books.
The
Oh, the
blue book.
The blue book.
To that point, you're right. I thought we were on a, but to that, I think I would love to be able to, when we go into the schools, I'd love to
Yeah.
be able to have
Give them
some,
something to take
some
home,
of those.
because it's something that'll hang around.
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
The box I have hasn't even been opened. so
They take it, if they take it home and their parents read it, which is what we want.
Yes,
You know,
Or
exactly.
maybe you can like, if you're teaching harbor master classes, maybe you can take some with you.
oh, I'd be more than happy
Because
to.
that would be like the way this thing spreads around is other communities
I got-
hear about it and go, wow,
I got 30 guys captive. That,
okay. I'll get you
No,
30
no.
copies.
well, they know and love me because they have to, because I'm gonna give them the test. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to do it.
All right, anything else on dumpster sticker distribution? Health of the harbors, no topics, even though most everything we're talking about is health of the harbor. But we'll keep that there in case there's something new and exciting to add to it in the future. New business coastal resilience advisory committee, do we have an update, Mr. Brace?
Yeah, so a couple things. We are now in public outreach mode. But I'll get to that in a minute, but we got word at the last meeting from Leah Hill, who's now the coastal coordinator, that upon the second attempt applying for the municipal vulnerability program grant through coastal zone management, we got that grant, and the money goes toward doing a feasibility study for the storm barrier, which, if you remember when I showed it on the map last week, runs basically from the Great Harbor Yacht Club all the way through town, all the way up, almost up to the galley. And it's not a done deal. It's a recommendation. It's an idea. But it's a thing that will be worked on, and there'll be plans, and eventually we'll have to vote on it, but it's just a feasibility. It's a 2-year thing to look at, can this work? Where's it gonna go? And it's basically a berm that if there's a storm, the water isn't gonna come over that and wash in the town, and it includes raising of roads and planning of living shorelines and things like that. So we had tried before to get the grant, and we weren't, I guess we didn't give them the information that they wanted. So this time they heard us and gave us the grant.
Yeah, I met with Steve McKenna on Friday on the Cape, and he was talking about that, and he's the coastal zone management guy, so yeah. And he said, just keep shoveling stuff to them, and they'll keep trying to move it for you.
But it's like getting a grant is like, they want to give you the money,
They do.
but they're not just gonna give it to you. You have to show them how.
Yeah.
You have to push all these buttons in the right way. If you don't, then you don't get the money, even though they want to give it to you, but.
And it's difficult. I manage, they're difficult to manage. They're very time consuming. But I think they're worth it at the end. of the
Yeah, oh
day.
yeah. So with public outreach, I think I talked about it last week, we have developed questions that will go to, there are survey questions that the 25 area association presidents will distribute to their members. Basically, this is ground level stuff, right to the property owner. How are you being affected by sea level rise? How can we help you? What are your issues? There are 6 questions, and then those answers will go back to the presidents. They'll organize that data, and then one by one, those presidents will come before our committee, and we'll be told what their concerns are. And we'll be expanding those questions to, you know, various other groups on the island so that we get everybody. And we're trying just to find different ways to get the word out. So using Florencia Rulo, who's our sort of public outreach person in the town, I think that's what her title is. We are going to develop a social media campaign that gets the word out about the coastal resilience plan, starting with the fact that the plan exists and what it is, and that'll be 1 month, and then there'll be a timeline for the plan, and then we as committee members have to come up with what's coming up for the next month, so that every month there's going to be a new thing about the coastal resilience plan, so we keep it in people's forefront, that people know that we're working on it. And then we haven't met about this yet, but I had the idea that we would. Oh, okay. Another thing we talked about is a newsletter, creating a newsletter, and then also taking the newsletter information and getting it into the newsletters of the various conservation organizations on the island so that all of their members see it. And I had the idea, which we'll discuss at the next meeting, which will be next Tuesday, that we get a hold of the student newspaper Veritas and get information from whatever newsletter blurb that we do, hopefully goes in there, so the students read it and maybe take it to their parents. And then there's a thing called the Student Youth Climate Committee. I think that's what they're called, and we might be doing a presentation to them. It's all trying to disseminate into the schools and hopefully it gets taken home, and we're trying to get the plan exists now, but it's in the 3 or 4 weeks that I've been chairman, I'm reading up and becoming more aware, and I'm really shocked at how many people don't know the plan even exists or what it does. So that's our task. We created the plan, now we're trying to bring it to the public and saying, here it is, what do you want to do to help you? And so.
Peter, understanding that it's all conceptual at this point, for the most part, I realize there's some plans that are intended to be implemented.
Yeah.
But in looking at it back from the beginning when this was announced, and that picture was put in the paper of the concept of the berm through the harbor from the creeks to Brant Point, and of course that raised a lot of eyebrows. That and I'm sure it also generated a lot of negative comments.
Oh yeah.
Some of us have been either cursed or blessed with a solution-driven brain. And, I think about these things a lot and look at all the different aspects about it. More recently is the land bank's idea of the Washington Street berm. Of course, Brant Point Marine building, possibly in the way of that. The Harbor Masters building, same thing, being right next door. Still some other houses on Washington Street in the way of that concept. But then thinking about, okay, where does it end? You've got that Harbor Place, which recently redeveloped. And you've got the entire marina, which 3 years of multi-million-dollar project of putting in new steel sheathing. Not any of it any higher than it used to be to address rising tides. You think about the development between the marina, Old North Wharf, Easy Street. You start thinking to yourself, maybe that conceptual idea isn't a bad idea in comparison to how you deal with all of these buildings and this waterfront that's fully developed for the most part, and how much disturbance there would be to try to hold back the tide. And you think about, I mean, if you've had the opportunity to take the C Street to New Bedford, you go through a set of gates, storm gates,
Yeah,
that they can close at their discretion. And there are certainly other communities that have these types of barriers in place versus building something that's permanent and not retractable. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is in thinking about this now over the course of a couple of years since that picture was on the front page of the paper, I'll repeat myself and say it. Actually, when you back up and look at the whole picture to save the waterfront from flooding, what a great tool that would be to be out there. And it doesn't disturb any of the existing waterfront, doesn't disturb any of the developed areas. You know, I know you've spent a lot of time on this, Peter. You know, whoever else has been there with you, it's a lot of work and it's a lot to think about and to reflect on it all and to really look at the whole big picture of it, and then to get that message out to the public, and somehow avoid the outcry, the backlash, the criticism. It's very difficult. I mean, it took me a long time. When I first saw that picture, I thought, oh my God, what a crazy idea. But literally in the past couple of weeks and thinking about it and seeing the Anglers Club buying Grant Point Marine, so that kind of solidifies possibly that building staying there. And it just made my mind work more on how do we implement a project that works, something that the water isn't going to just simply go around at Harbor Place and Petrol Landing. Sure, you can have something to hold it back from Washington Street, but it has ends. And how do we address those ends? So I just want to express my appreciation
thanks.
for how frustrating it must be at times to have to deal with the backlash and you know, the lack of awareness that the plan was even out there, even from some of the board, myself included, that you know, don't let your frustration get the best of you on this. You're right there in the thick of it, and we actually are relying on you, you know, to relay the information to us. Not all of us can be up to speed as you are, of course, and this is a very important plan that needs to be taken seriously.
A few things. The big barrier that you saw that was on the paper that everybody got fired about, that is a concept.
Yes.
That's a concept. But the recommendations, the 40 recommendations, that's what the select board is taking seriously. Those things will more than likely become reality. The stuff that I detailed at the last meeting, the low hanging fruit, the raising of roads, the shoring up of Sacagawea ponds, those things are real. Those are recommendations. The storm barrier is the downtown storm barrier is real. It's something that is going to be worked on in some way. And what you described about the various places along the harbor, that's why the grant is important, because it's a feasibility study. It's to look at those places and go, is that barrier going to work? Who's going to be inside of it? Who's going to be outside of it? It may not be that the barrier is going to work, but the study is to is gonna be driven toward, let's make this work and how do we make it work? So, and the other thing I want to say was, when we were talking about outreach, I said we need to have a social media campaign. We need to, I pointed to the Natural Resources Department. We have someone in attendance who does a stellar job in getting the word out about everything that's going on in natural resources, everything that they're doing at the hatchery, the rescuing of seed, the Boys and Girls Club, kids oyster discovery program. And, at the meeting that I brought that up, Vince Murphy goes, well, that's all very happy, wonderful stuff. And what we're talking about is doom and gloom. So that's what we're up against. And I'm like, yeah, but there's gotta be a way to make people excited about saving the island. So that's what
We just look at New Orleans, what they've had to do there.
Mhm.
It's like getting a bowl.
Well, it's hard to visualize unless you've been
Seen
there.
there, yeah.
So,
I mean, right in
We're
Hartford,
up against
Connecticut,
that as
all this,
well.
the Connecticut River, there's a huge, I'll say, water retention berm that
Mhm.
goes for miles and miles, just so the city doesn't get
The one
flooded.
in New Orleans is, 18 feet high and is on a railroad track.
yeah, maybe it'll come to that.
Yeah.
We
I'm
don't,
just saying it,
estimates are 6.6 feet of sea level rise for our area by 2100. If anyone believes that's gonna happen, I would say you're crazy, because it's probably gonna be higher than that. And we all know what code 2 is gonna look like. It'll probably be underwater or broken into pieces. So if you read the news, and now read the news a lot more about sea level rise, and it's frightening what's happening to glaciers and how quickly the water is rising, and the slowing down of the Gulf Stream, which passes near us, which means the water stays warmer longer, and that makes the water expand and rise more, and who knows what that's gonna do. So anyway, that's my update.
Thank you, Peter. Any more discussion on the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee updates? Do we have any public questions or comments on tonight's meeting? Our next meeting, October 31st, should we?
How about if I just email Erica and she says, if she says it's open, then we can always schedule it and then not have it, we decided we don't need it.
Mhm. I mean, if we don't meet the 31st and we don't meet the 7th because of special town meeting, our next meeting will be November 21st.
Right, and that's a month from now, so
It's,
we should probably maybe not go that far without having a meeting if we can help it, right?
I mean, the only other option would be November 14th. Which may not be as feasible of an option as the 5th Tuesday of October, which probably has nothing scheduled for in the meeting room. And if we don't have a whole lot to talk about, it'll be a short meeting. Certainly it won't be like November 7th, finding out what the first week of scallop season was like, but we can be patient, find that out on the 21st.
Mr. Chairman, could I add a couple things for the agenda for the next meeting?
Please do.
It's a beginning of recommendations from me to this board to the harbor plan committee, critical infrastructure, and I think I sent around some photographs of the idea of the steamship authority out jetties. That's one of them. Incorporated in that would be a public access pier for fishing, which that photograph that I sent, so I can resend those photographs. I've gotten some additional photographs. Public Access Board built that one in Oak Bluffs, and they would be willing to build one here. so people could get out there and fish. And then the all-encompassing important second boat ramp in town. So it would be
Multifaceted.
yeah.
Hmm.
And most of the vehicles would be as the one in Oak Bluffs, obviously it's design, et cetera, but most of the vehicles for the steamship would be staged on the dock, on the pier. And the pier, if you saw it, was elevated with concrete over the moon. And anyway, so that's the one infrastructure project. The other one is petrol landing. You don't want that to die.
Mhm.
And
On the subject of petrol landing, sorry to interrupt you, Dave. About a week and a half ago, I got back the answer from Jesse Bell on what the current status of the lawsuit is. So if you guys want, I'll send that all. You guys, okay.
The third thing is, the ferry embarkation fee. Dave, I sent Dave some stuff on this because I was up at 2:30 in the morning and the stuff wasn't making sense to me. So I sent it to Dave and Dave concurred with me that the monetary numbers that I was running were close. Ferry embarkation fee is 50 cents per trip. So it's per person, 50 cents each way. It was adopted in, I have it in my phone, I can't remember, 2008 or something, 2003, I'm sorry. It's never been raised. It's appropriated at town meeting every year with no discussion and no comment. And my recommendation is going to be to raise the embarkation fee to $1. And that money, specifically by statute, can go to waterways improvement and critical infrastructure. And when the High Line started charging a 3% fuel surcharge, no one was given the opportunity to comment, and we all pay it. And I'm saying we should raise the fee to 75 cents per trip or $1 per trip, and that would generate 2.5 million a year. But the main thing is I want to have the discussion that right now the funds for many years have been used to offset the cost of the summer specials to direct traffic at the boat. That's where that money goes, and that's never been discussed. There's never been any budgeting or discussion like that. And it specifically says for harbor improvements and waterways improvements, and a caveat that they've been hanging their hat on since 2003 is public safety. So if you say public safety, that's how you pay summer specials to direct traffic at the boat. So they only appropriated $200,000 at the last several town meetings. And I would like to know where that other $1 million is. Because if you don't appropriate it at town meeting, you can't spend it.
I think the time to do it now that we're getting the new police chief.
Yeah.
Well, point of
Goes
order,
into a general fund.
we can't discuss this. This is it's not on our agenda. We're putting this on the agenda for
I'm
next week.
sorry.
We really shouldn't be.
No,
having
good
discussions.
point. I'm sorry, Dave.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
But that's why I wanted.
This should go on the
Yeah,
agenda for
yeah.
next week, for next
But
week.
anyway, that's
Here
kind of
we
where.
are being solution driven.
Right.
And then the third thing is, and I know we can't talk about this, reorganization of the Marine Department. Putting the harbor master as its own entity again.
So this is 4 items.
4 items, right, okay. It sounds like we should have a meeting. It sounds like we need a meeting.
Hmm.
Sooner than
It's not even called the Marine Department anymore, is it?
No, I don't know.
But anyhow, and on the ferry embarkation fee, can you do a little research, Dave, and find out, you know, that's been a huge question for me. It's on the,
On the warrant every year.
every year, and we're not seeing a whole lot of you know, traffic being directed at the ferries. But anyhow, it would be interesting to know some more information on that. And these are great items for the agenda, Dave, so thank you.
If you give me 2 seconds, I can,
Well, we're not
Well, we
supposed to
probably
discuss
can't.
it, so.
no, I can probably say this, it was Article 26 of the annual town meeting.
Okay.
Can I say what it's used for? No, okay.
I
No,
would
you're-
say,
Let's
No,
say-
you're right, I
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
agree.
I'm glad you brought it up, and
Yes.
we do need to discuss that.
And thank you for the reality check, Dave, Bossy.
I was just playing
Um,
Peter, actually.
Yeah.
He's the one.
I know.
Stop.
But that's all right. Anything else for our next meeting? Thoughts on October 31st?
I'll zoom in if you
Yeah,
guys.
sounds like we have.
I think we should put it
things to
out there.
Discuss, yeah, let's put it, have Peter go see if.
Okay.
If we can get it.
Okay,
Email
but
it.
there's a consensus with the board to hold a meeting.
Okay,
Okay,
Nothing else for these items alone, it'd be nice to talk about them and
all right.
get started on.
I mean, it's just it's a situation that, you know, basically only comes up with town meeting. We seem to have it at the annual town meeting as well, that, you know, there's a Tuesday night usually in there. And, it's usually a Tuesday that, one of our meetings is scheduled for as well. And, you know, out of respect for town meeting, we really can't logistically hold our meeting at the same time. There's no point in it. Some of us want to be at town meeting, and anybody who may want to attend our meeting that wants to attend town meeting is going to choose town meeting. So I think that's fairly safe to say. So Peter, if you can look into that for October 31st, that would be wonderful. If there's nothing else tonight, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Motion's made by Mr. Bossy, seconded by Mr. Anderson to adjourn tonight's meeting. All in favor, Mr. Bossy?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto? Mr. Brace? Aye. Ms. Andrews, you still with us?
I'm still with you. I hit the wrong
All right.
button at one point, but I got back in. Yes. Aye.
Thank you. And the chair votes aye as well. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thank you,
Good
Tara.
night. Thank you.
Night.